Yeah, well, first of all, longevity is preventive health.
When you were both growing up in Zeist, you were always out and about and kind of terrorizing people to a certain degree.
So sleep is the main driver of those things. So we look into your blood sugar and we check, okay, is this healthy? Is this optimal? Is this just not healthy, or is it unhealthy?
Well, we always end the episode with a quick voice note from somebody in the guests network.
Essie, money here.
Thomas, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thanks for being here today and for joining in this second episode of the Midlife Crisis podcast. A new podcast in which I have one-on-one discussions with people like yourselves on topics around their careers, around sports, around health. And the first episode was with Jeroen Hetsberger. I'm delighted to have you here today to kick us off for this second episode.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And the reason why I was very keen to talk to you is because also after the conversation with Jeroen, we talked a lot about personal branding and kind of trying to use social media to kind of gather attention, let's say, on different platforms to kind of show who you are and to kind of introduce what you're doing. And I'd seen you doing that recently quite well. Therefore, I thought what you're doing now with LNGVTY, which is a preventive healthcare company that you're leading now, I thought those two come together very nicely to kind of wrap up into a topic for this episode.
Yeah, well, thank you again. And the Midlife Crisis, I like the title. It's something I'm aware of, but I don't think I'm there yet. But probably will. Yeah, like every man will get there in a few years. So
yeah. So if we can maybe start, can you maybe tell us a bit about the company that you're leading now, which is LNGVTY? Like I said, a preventive healthcare company. I think a very innovative kind of way of looking at healthcare and how you can tailor those things to the individual.
Yeah.
So maybe we can start there and you can give everybody a bit of a sense of what you do and what the company does. And then we can maybe go back to the beginning of your career to kind of figure out how did you get there? What steps did you take? Was that by chance that you ended up where you are now? And what kind of vision is for the future going forward and how you want to make choices going forward?
Yeah, well, first of all, LNGVTY is preventive health, which we focus on business leaders and entrepreneurs to maintain peak performance throughout their life by slowing down the aging process. And by slowing down the aging process, people will have like a longer health span and be able to enjoy life and be more productive. And for me, it is all about taking ownership over your health and using this ownership to create a better life. And LNGVTY helps you with medical experts to look in your data and look into like a 10, 20, 30-year risk analysis and to reverse those risks, take those risks to make an actionable plan right now to improve your future health, but also your current health.
And is this something new here in the Netherlands? Are you new to this space? We of course know the traditional healthcare system, right? Going to your GP and then trying to, let's say, deal with certain issues that pop up with regards to health. But you're actually looking at trying to mitigate those risks, right? To be ahead of those things. And how can people make certain changes in their life to make sure that you get ahead of those?
Yeah, so we're not your GP, but we are with GP knowledge, and I think a little bit more about that. So if you look into health is different than being not sick. So within the health spectrum, you have not sick and you have optimal health. And if you have a trend line going from optimal health or health to sick, you want to reverse the trend line. And I think a negative trend is as worrying as being sick itself. So that's the difference for people. And in my opinion, it's medical people have the most knowledge about our body. So if you combine this medical knowledge with performance knowledge, then you get the best coach. So you can have a GP who is only expert in sickness. Then you have your personal trainer who's very good in making a training program. What if you combine those and then you get the longevity experts, which we are.
Okay. Ahead of this episode, me and my wife decided to join the longevity program, right? And we'll be doing some blood work soon to kick us off, to introduce us to the program. Can you take people maybe along a bit to kind of explain, if they do decide to become a customer in your program, a client in your program, what does that look like from the onset? What can they expect? What kind of things do you look at with those physicians and that data in order to tell them what kind of interventions they need to make? Can you kind of take us through that process so people understand what you actually do?
For sure. So it's all about creating habits in the end, and that's the most difficult part. So without habits, it's you will never change. It's just like a one-off thing. So our method is about doing a scan, doing a consult, we're giving you a score, and then we make a plan, and then you implement the plan. And this is what we do again and again and again. So every quarter we retest, results, we score, we plan, and you going to implement. The health score we create is based on 6 pillars, and those are cardiovascular disease, sleep, metabolic disease, also what you eat. It's about muscles, visceral fat is the fat around the organs, cognitive health, and the most important thing, I think, but also the most complex one, is emotional health, so stress. And on those 6 pillars, I mentioned more words, but like muscle and organs, fat is one. We give you a score, and then we decide what are the highest priorities to focus on, which will have to. If you have a big risk on getting cardiovascular disease, we want to focus on that first. So we can focus on everything, on your VO2 max or whatever, but it's most important to lower your risk on getting a stroke, and that's where we then make a plan for. And in the end, you want to score like 100 points on all pillars, and then you have the maximum score, which is, I think, quite impossible because we are getting older every day, so it will get harder every day. So the thing is to maintain health and slow down the aging process, which will, in the end, keep you fit for a long time. This is what we do. The doctors use data, and the data is done by, for example, blood work. But there's also questionnaires. It's also flexibility tests. So it's not just about doing diagnostics, but we use diagnostics to create a plan, and that's a big difference between a lot of companies online who are doing just tests. Then the diagnostic is the product, but we use the diagnostics to give you another product, which is a happy, long, healthy life.
Yeah, and how does that moment? Do you meet with your clients face to face once per quarter, then to go through the results, or how does that work? How do you stay in contact with that customer, or how do you engage with that customer?
Well, good question. We are learning there. We're learning every week again. It's about health, so people really like personal contact, but we also want to be scalable and want to be flexible. So how we created this is we don't do the diagnostics ourselves. We use partners, and people can within the whole country can do blood work locally, and then send it to the labs, and the labs send the results to us. We do consults online, and that gives flexibility to our doctors and our customers. So it's all done digitally. I am thinking about the location. It's not just ego because it's nice to have a location, but it's also, I think it's really because we really give value, but it's not cheap, which means if we have a physical location, people will come by and see us. I think it will really help the brand and
create more of a community idea around it.
And I've got one of my personal goals is to have my own longevity office. So if I have my sauna and my ergometer and squat rack at my office, it's easier for myself as well to live this life. Yeah. And I think if it become a longevity co-working hub for ambitious leaders, and our office at the same time in the middle of the country, I think that's the goal for this year. So
That'd be cool.
then we have a location, then we can see people.
And what kind of people show up now as your clients? Let's say, what are they looking for, or what kind of issues do they already have? Issues when they come and are interested to find out more, or are they really just people that are already curious about health and want to again live their best lives? What kind of people do you see now?
Both. So it's of course early adapters. So most of them are fit, men, and look like me. So it's and I don't know. It's probably because of my network, but it's also probably because men are more into data, and most are entrepreneur or used to get. Used to take control. So they have business KPIs, and how can we create health KPIs? In the end, most of them are quite fit, but do have long working hours. So they sit on the chair.
Which doesn't help.
Doesn't really help. And within those group, you have two people. One are more driven by fear, and the others are more driven by creating. So you have the people, okay, I never want to be too late, but I also want to have the best expertise around me, and they're used to have the best expertise.
Being able to afford that.
Yeah, and they can afford it. And the ones who are really into data are also the most critical ones. So those you have to really give a lot of data points. You also have to give them a lot of value and touch points. So we are finding out which is the most ideal audience, but I think we can do both. And we also have I think like 10-15% women, but those are also working 5 days a week and business.
Ambitious, driven women who want to also take control of their health like they do in other situations in their life.
Because in the end, it's quite boring. You have to work for it. So you have to sleep good, exercise, and do other things. So yeah, we can create beautiful plans, but if you don't go for it, if you don't work for it, you will never get results. So that means that you need to be driven and ambitious.
And are you also looking for ways to find those people that might be a little bit less driven and ambitious, right? Because I think, well, maybe you can tell a bit more about the vision for the company and why you started this. I can imagine that you start with early adapters, and early adapters are interested, right? And if you're interested, then you also want to work on it. But I'm assuming you would want to eventually get a much bigger pool of clients, preferably that everybody starts working with a personal physician and does things about their health. How do you see
for sure.
that?
So you have problem unaware, problem aware, and solution unaware, and product aware. And so I think for us the biggest challenge is to find people being problem aware but not solution unaware. And I think it's quite complex to reverse aging and to go into all those data. And but if you just ask people, what's your blood pressure, what's your cholesterol, most people say, I don't know. And if you then say, okay, this boring thing like blood pressure is the silent killer, so you can just it's a $25 or euro a product you can buy and just check once a month. It's you will get them to, I think, problem aware. And if you then can say, okay, if this is too high, and it's a little bit too high, is too high because it's creating damage, you can make them more aware. So that's for us the challenge to make it more simple and to get to people who are not there yet. But in the end, my personal goal was always to help my mom get fit, and that's why I opened the gym to help her. But she is, of course, not my main audience, but she would be a great customer for the product. So how would I get her to
why would she be a great customer for the product?
Well, every human being is a great customer because we can help everybody.
At every age. You can't be too late to the game in this space.
No, so you want them to focus on doing, if you have like only 2 or 3 hours a week to work on your longevity, you want to do the right thing in those 3 hours. And then you need a physician like us to tell you what's the most efficient thing in those 3 hours to work on right now. And now everybody just goes, I'm going to the gym and everybody's doing everything without getting the results they need to have to increase their longevity.
Yeah.
And I think for my mother and all those her girlfriends, and for them it's like if I can help her, but okay, your blood pressure is too high, do this every day 10 minutes, or your stability, if you fall, you're 67, if you fall, you break your hip, the chances of dying within 5 years are quite high. So focus on standing on one leg every day for 10 seconds. It's just to give her the most efficient tips. And that's what we do. But now she is not there yet. Not at all. She's into losing weight. She's not into longevity.
Yeah. Okay, so let's maybe zoom in on some of those biomarkers, I think you call it, that you actually measure. What some of those are. What people, if they were to come up to your company and sign up, what kind of things could they see or get more information about? So I think we can zoom in on that in a minute. But I wanted to go back in first instance. It's also because this podcast is, of course, called The Midlife Crisis, right? I really want to help our listeners and our audience and support them in showing them how certain people have gotten to the stage in life where they are, right, to where you are now. What kind of journey have you been through before that to get to where you are now? And was that all by chance, or did you make certain decisions at certain points in time that have led you to where you are now? So in order to kind of understand that and to, because I think what you're doing now is super interesting and is really important to a lot of people, but it'd also be good to understand, you don't get into that kind of space all of a sudden, right? No. Where do you end up, or in what kind of situations do you find yourself that you get into such a space? So can you maybe take us back a bit to maybe the younger version of Thomas, right? If you go back to, I don't know, middle school or around that time, mm-hmm. What kind of person were you then? Were you already interested in health? I mean, I know you from our time in Rotterdam together, where, of course, we also did things back in those days that weren't particularly healthy for ourselves, right? Where does that interest come from, and what were you like younger growing up, and how has that led to where you are now? Can you kind of take us through those steps?
It's a long road.
It's a long road, yeah.
One of my strengths is I just act, but it's also one of my weaknesses. So I'll act too soon. Sometimes I quit too soon, and that's why I ended up right now here. So I will tell you a little bit about my past. I've always doing like the basic sports. When you go to high school, it's you do hockey, football 2 times a week, training, one match, and then on Saturday you go drinking with all your friends. And so there was not a specific ambition to become a health professional. Then we went, of course, studying, and I think we went both to Rotterdam. So that's the advantage of Rotterdam is a lot of guys. It's quite an ambitious city. So we do drink, but we also study and we also work out. And we were, I think, if you look into those cities like Amsterdam and Rotterdam right now, to the people studying, they're all muscled and training. But then back in our days, we didn't have Instagram, and we were just drinking and doing marathons. That was the thing we did. But in Rotterdam, I also...
Very strange combination, by the way, on the one hand be very destructive for your body, but then on the other hand try to demand very big things from it and want to kind of test the body.
Our bodies were... It was okay. So when we did a training and then drinking, we felt perfect the day after. If I do this right now, I'm knocked off for 2 days. So... Yeah. It started over there with doing the first marathon in Florence and then in New York, and that's where I came into the I think the health and training for the future. But it wasn't really a thing for me to really focus on a health career yet. So
because I can imagine that now. Everything you do and kind of the company that you have is really around helping people, right? Supporting people to have their best lives. What I understood from one of your friends growing up, and the way that I got to know you, is you've also always been a bit of a rebel. You've always been somebody that didn't want to follow the mainstream. And there were some very funny examples that I heard from one of your friends where when you were both growing up in Zeist, you were always out and about and kind of terrorizing people to a certain degree, which doesn't fit at all with kind of what you're doing now, right? I heard one story where you'd go out at night together and take remote controls for televisions, for example, and then you drive up to senior houses or to people's where you could see them in the living room watching TV. And then from the garden, you turn up the volume all the way to the top and basically scare people into getting up and looking around. Do you recognize that? I mean, what does that say about you and the fact that you're an entrepreneur now? That kind of rebel in you is it?
I don't know. It's okay. Okay, funny. We did a lot of things. I've always got arrested once, and
I didn't want to go straight to the arrest, but I heard about that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that is. It's something I always like to. I'm not a middleman, so it's either extreme doing sports and being healthy, or if we go to a festival, I went like all the way and was at home. And I left the space as the last one. So for me, I don't know what it says about me, but it's I don't like boring things, and I do like the excitement. But I have to say, now I'm getting older, I'm also getting more boring. So it's we also drove cars very fast when we didn't before we get 18. So all those kind of stories. Yeah, it helps me to live on the edge, but a little bit more stability would have helped me in my earlier career. But it does get me where I am right now. I don't know. I just like doing things nobody likes, and maybe it also was, to be honest, a little bit of a quest for attention. Maybe those kind of things in there. I'm easily extrovert. People think I'm extrovert, but I think I'm more of introvert. So I'm a thinker, and those two combine is that I'm not the first one people pick, but I'm also not the last one. And I had to create this image around me. So I think that's part of being who I was at that time. And also when you then go to Rotterdam, we're going to study. It's all very masculine scene, and you need to be you need to be there.
Yourself.
And I was 19, but I think I was 16 from the inside at that time. I still had my girlfriend living back home, and then I was the youngest in my house, so you get fucked every day, by all those guys. And I think this was a way for me to stand out and get attention. So I think that's also a little thing, something there, to be vulnerable and honest. But it's also making fun. I like making fun in life.
Yeah, and then coming out of Rotterdam, what did you start doing when you went for your first job?
Yeah, so maybe I also wanted to be a fighter pilot, and I got rejected when I got 18 or 19. Then I went to Rotterdam.
Talking about living on the edge, again, this extreme, right? I mean,
I saw Top Gun when I was 6, and I always press pause when they went kissing, and look, Daddy, they're putting their tongues in it.
Those are the guys that get attention.
Yeah,
right.
So I think so. So I wondered later, did I want to get fighter pilot for the attention, or to really like flying? And then I went to Rotterdam, and because it was 2005, I had to finish my studies. I tried to KLM when I was 20. I passed all the tests, but then they probably had this long hair and a fake hat, and if I go, you can finish your study first before getting into KLM school. And after studies, it was the 2010 crisis, so I finished tax law. I finished my study, but I wanted to be something to do in aviation. I went to air traffic control in the Netherlands and got hired. So that was I was really happy to get into the training program for air traffic control, and then get sent out after 6 months again, like my whole class. So that career also didn't work. And then I thought, shit, I have to do something with tax law, which I really found really boring.
So why did you do tax law to begin with? I mean, was it just you needed to do something?
Yeah, you need to do something, and I didn't get into fighter pilot training. So then I thought maybe doing economics. Went to Rotterdam, didn't get to my first year. I did tax economics. Now then you switch to tax law. and which was I like the number thing, and I wanted to how can you pay less tax? That was nothing. That was my that was my imagination. And then you come into the study, and it's quite boring, and the people doing it are also quite boring. So and people working in tax are also So in the end, for me, I finished it because I also like to study a little bit, and then I thought I don't want to work here. So after air traffic control, I went to Tele2. It's a company for cell phones. I got like a side job, then get into a main job there. Really liked it, and after 1 year, I thought I don't want to sell cell phones my whole life, and I just didn't get the idea of I'm learning things which I can use in all type of companies. I thought, okay, I'm into mobile phones. I don't want to be in mobile phones my whole life. So I went to doing investment analysis for a real estate developer. You know it, multivastgoed. And I thought
I did an internship there as well back in the days.
So I thought I get my suit and I get my laptop and this is really cool. Everybody likes me. And first of all, I wasn't really good in it. So I had never got any financial training. So looking into these data sheets and everybody was looking at me, what are you doing? So that was the first lesson. Don't do something you think people like. It's good for your image, but do something you like. And work with people you like is more important than working at a company with a big status. Yeah. And I really so after 1 year they didn't how do you say renew my contract. And then I was my first time without a job, so I applied for the WW. And then my girlfriend broke up. So imagine being alone at home. And and then Robert, the friend you mentioned, I was living in one of his places. So he was so nice for me to lower the rent so I can afford it myself. And
but I think that's an important moment, right? So I think what you just described there is a lot of us, and probably people recognize that listening to the podcast, we go out and we do some study, right? And sometimes we haven't really thought that through, and we kind of, are influenced about others around us, and just want to have a fun time. So just choose a study, and then we end up in a job, and you ended up in multiple jobs, and it took quite a while before you realized that you'd actually been doing things that you didn't really enjoy or that didn't actually fit you.
No,
but you needed to go through that process in order to get that lesson.
Exactly. So the name experience, and in Dutch it's called ervaren. So you have to experience things to learn, and you can expedite the experience, but you have to get through the experience, and that is for me the most important lesson, to have patience. So I was always quite impatient, and that means that you just, if you don't like a thing, just stay there and wait longer, invest in it. And that's, I learned, it took me 5 years to understand this concept of having patience and go through a thing to get into a job.
And was that a low point for you? So talking about living with your friend who had to lower the rent for you, losing your job, losing your relationship.
Yeah.
I think it was what did you do in that time to kind of help you get out of that space? Did you talk to people? Did you seek out advice? Did you just put your head down and try something new again? How did you deal with that?
Well, in the end, it was 3 months, and I didn't change my my habits. So I went out. So then you get €800 a month, and I can tell you in 5 days it's empty. So it's a long month.
That was your social welfare. You got from the government. You got €800.
Yeah, that was it. So
you spent it drinking.
Yeah, that was my rent. So that was really crazy. What I did was not that much actually. Just look at what do I want to do. I also learned that we come from a place when, my parents didn't pay for me, but we had this safe place. I was thought I would never sleep on the street, which I think doesn't really help in that situation. I did have one of our other friends from the hockey team also got fired, and so we were together. So we
sharing the misery.
We had this sharing misery of being So we did a lot of coffees together, not in a cafe at home because we couldn't afford the coffee anymore. And then after 2.5 months, I had some discussions with friends. One of my friends helped me with making a PowerPoint presentation to get into the helicopter industry and to work over there. And then from there on, maybe apply for a helicopter training. So I had this aviation thing again in my head.
Yeah, kept coming back
again and again and again. And that was the time I thought, maybe I have to do it. But it was 150K again, to get into helicopter training or flight training, which I didn't have at that time. So then I saw one of my guys from Rotterdam, Rick Smits. He was on LinkedIn saying things about incorporation of BV's, and he was having this new company, and I didn't really understand what he was doing. So I sent him a LinkedIn message. Hey Rick, do you need guys to work for you? Because we did tax law together, and we were both the same guys. Like we were not really the standard tax law guys. And he later told me he wanted to reject me, but he said, maybe you can sell bookkeeping packages to my BV customers. So he was this online notary company to incorporate your BV without having the notary. So notary. And he was the first in the Netherlands. So I got there, and the same day I started calling bookkeeping customers. Didn't understand both products, the BV, and I didn't understand the bookkeeping product. And I just had this list of...
But you were an easy talker, and that helped.
So I thought
helped grow the business.
Yeah, well, I didn't sell a lot in the beginning, but after I think a few days, Rick thought, okay, this guy is also good to do the operations, and then took over operations over there. And there was the moment for Rick and his co-founder to start building the business further and letting me do the business, the operation. So we built this, I think, from I've been working there for 6 years, and I think we went from 0 to 3-4 million revenue. And my team was from 0 to just me to 20 students, and that was really, really interesting time. For me, it felt like they got me from the streets, like not really, okay, living in Amsterdam.
They got
center.
You out of the bar, at least.
They got me out of the bar, but they really offered me this place, and then I found this fun again. Working with guys like you and me, working hard, early days and long nights, and creating a business. And I got a good salary again because that really, really helps me and learned me about business and about entrepreneurship, because we were creating BVs for entrepreneurs. And that was when I learned, hey, this is interesting. You can create a world instead of react or work for somebody else. So in those 5 years, I think we did like 10 to 20K companies, which we incorporated. And I saw all these ideas, and I thought, this is interesting to do it myself. Then after 6 years, you come to this point. I was the minority shareholder, so it was more like an employee. I did have shares, but that was
not
like
enough to really make an impact.
No, so I had to listen to them. They were all about my salary. It's not they decided what I made for a living. And then I had this customer who had just opened a gym 2 years before, and then he came back 7 times for a new BV. So he did 7 locations. And this company was about doing a 35 minutes workout with strength and condition. And it was for people who didn't like to go to the gym. And then I thought, this is really boring. How can you get fit within 35 minutes? And then I called this guy, and he said, okay, but it's not about you, Thomas. It's about the other 90% of the country.
Yeah.
And that was the moment I thought, okay, this is interesting. How can I get into my passion, aviation, get the money, and start something I also like to do is health and sport. So I, like simple said, I sold my shares and then invested into helicopter training and into a gym. Because I looked into the numbers. I was a tax lawyer I did study. So I was doing it's called a share a merger. For this company, they had 7 locations, and we put one holding above it. And I saw these numbers. I thought, this is easy money. It was the time on Facebook you put in €1, you get €100 back. Yeah. That was not anymore. So then I also invested into a franchise of those, and then times changed. But I think we can later there. But then that was also like an impulsive thing. Okay, sell my shares, invest in helicopter training, open a gym on the side. Hire a team, a manager, and have like passive income, and then do the
dream. Everybody's dream.
Helicopter pilot. Yeah. Living Bali didn't exist at that time, so And that was the first time I thought, okay, entrepreneurship is something I can also be an entrepreneur. I'm not born like an entrepreneur. I did once when I was younger. Put in went to the houses in the neighborhood and asked if I can mow the lawn.
Yeah.
Nobody responded. So there was a little bit entrepreneurship in my space.
Yeah, it was killed pretty quickly.
It was killed immediately.
Yeah. And so you have 2 gyms now, if I'm correct.
Yeah. I sold one last year.
You sold one last year. What did having a gym and working in those gyms teach you about people's health in general and how they look at health? And how did that kind of spark the idea for longevity? Can you kind of explain that a bit more?
It all started there. So it was August 2019. We opened the first gym in Hilversum after a long year because we first hired a different place. People were complaining in the neighborhood. So long story short, we went to court, etc. We won, but it took too long. So I hired a new spot in Hilversum. And I always said I have to be working in the gym myself for a few months to know what it is and to do all the hard things and also to do the sales. So I think without sales you cannot run a business. And it's a sales company I went into, so it's a lot of scripts and I really like it. The psychology of the neuropsychology of selling something to people. Especially people who don't like to work out. Selling them an expensive contract is, I learned a lot about it. But you have to go into the emotion, and if they start crying, it's even better. Then you have to offer
you have them where you want them.
What I learned about that is that people take health for granted until it's too late, and they don't take ownership. So, and they focus on the wrong things. So 3 things. And they focus always on weight, but not on the body composition. And what really hit me every time was if people stopped their contract or subscription, and I took it personally. So why they don't like it here? I know it's a really good concept, but it's 35 minutes in a circle. So if you do that for 3 years in a row, it's maybe quite boring, but it's quite efficient. And I thought I have to teach people how the body works, so that they can use the right metrics, and they will never quit their subscription anymore because they know it's always valuable to work out. Even if you don't lose weight, if you go once a week for a year long, it's 52 times doing muscle training, you have gotten healthier. Even if it is coordination or stability or muscle power, but you don't see it on the scale. You see your weight. And that was for me the motivation to think I have to learn them how it works. I have to look into their body and look into the right metrics. And that was not the right place to do it over there. So I had to start a new business to teach them this.
And how did you approach that first? Like, what were the first steps that you took when you started longevity?
First, we got Corona, so we closed for 4 months. And,
the gym closed.
The gym closed, and we were almost break even. So I had these savings, and then the savings were I was out of savings at the end of Corona. The first lockdown, we just I thought, okay, what to do? People we were just giving outside workouts But it was the second lockdown in January 2021 when we thought, okay, I have to do something different, and then we started a health check in our location. We did start Facebook advertisement for doing not a blood test, just a physical test in the sit and reaches for mobility, blood pressure. We have body composition scale.
And when you say we started doing that, was that your idea? Did you start doing it, or you?
No, I had a club manager which I paid every month. So I thought you have to do something.
Yeah.
So I borrowed.
You're paying him anyway, so he might as well make himself useful.
Exactly, and it's fun. But I borrowed 5K from my uncle to invest in Facebook, and then the first grant was easy. We got like 6-7 customers, and wow, it's working, and then. Probably all the customers.
And why did you buy that? Why did you borrow that 5K? You just didn't have any.
I didn't have 5K anymore.
You didn't have any savings anymore.
No, it was completely empty. So we didn't get money from the government as well, because we were a new company, so we couldn't prove to the government that we had a revenue decrease, because we didn't have revenue before. So it was all the money went into the club, and I have to pay the employees. So my savings were I was out of savings, and this 5K, it sounds really low right now, but you think that's where we started.
Yeah, of course.
And then after a few weeks, the 5K was empty. We didn't have customers anymore. So it was okay. And then the club opened again, and we continued with the gym. But I always had this idea of, okay, we need to sell health checks, not to just give data, but to learn, to focus on the right metrics.
People,
to teach people.
How they could take control over those metrics.
Because what I see in it's different. In my own, I do CrossFit and High Rocks. Those people are really motivated, and you don't have.
That's what you do yourself.
I do it myself. So
Yeah.
you don't have to drag them to the gym. But if you my gyms are focusing on people 40, 50, 60-year-old. They have little time, a lot of injuries, a lot of chronic diseases also. Everybody has osteoporosis, diabetes type 2, arthritis. It's you cannot think of it, they have it. And it's the lack of ownership and the idea of being in a lottery, which irritated me. And that's something I want to change in the whole society. You know, take control. You don't have the guarantee that you live long healthy. There's a lot of things you can control.
Yeah.
But in the circle of influence, you want to take ownership. And I think in life it's important to take ownership, because without ownership, you will follow, and you will not live the life you want.
Yeah. And so at a certain point in time, you started doing those self scans or self tests. At what point did it become serious, where you started working with physicians, and did it become, let's say, professional as it is now to where you are today? Like what happened in that step?
It took me 3 years, so that could go faster. But I had 2 gyms, so they asked a lot of time from me, and they required a lot of time. So what I did after I think 2 years from now, so I was thinking, okay, I'm a tax lawyer. Nobody's going to believe me if I say something about your health. And that, if you look into Instagram right now, everybody is speaking about health like they are the expert, and they are not at all.
No.
And that also really annoys me. And maybe it's something I have to trust myself more, and people will believe me. But I thought I need a doctor, because I come from a world where doctors have value, and I still believe those people. If you get sick, you go to a doctor. You don't go to an influencer. so it's really easy. It's really simple to leverage on those people. And I contacted one guy who was on Instagram saying lots of things about longevity, and I said, well, let's work together.
And that is Alexander. Your current business partner.
It's my current business partner, and then now we have our, I think, newsletter number 105 this week was just sent live, and we just started a newsletter together every week, and then that evaluated into customers who wanted to buy products. So we first had only blood tests for I think €250, and you know what it costs right now. So it's a different product.
Yeah, I had to pay for the package, of course, to get you on this episode, right? I mean, that was kind of the quid pro quo.
It looked like a 50% discount, but it's the value we give right now is it's a completely different product. But in the end, that's where we started. You know, going on LinkedIn, and then you got the early adapters who want to measure their blood work, and I couldn't live on that, of course. But then I had to make a decision. It's really important. If I want to focus on this new business, I either have to hire people who run my business, my gyms, or I have to sell. And then I looked into. I've been searching for a co-founder. There I couldn't find one, and in the end sold the one in Hilversum. And then I found a guy who's now running Soest, the other one. So it was afterwards. It was a big decision to sell a company we were working on for 5 years, put a lot of money in, and didn't get €1 out of it to sell it.
You mean selling the gym?
Yeah, selling the gym, and which I owned also with the guy you mentioned, which I was playing with when I was younger. And that is still something. Sometimes I think did I make the right decision? But I did make the right decision at that time because it gave me the space to focus on longevity. And if you see the growth we made last year, I think we did a 400% increase in revenue, and this year we wanted 300% again. I couldn't do that without selling the company.
No, but it's also interesting to kind of reflect on the fact that having the gym, even though you never made €1 out of it, like you said, put you on this path to where you are now and leading this company called Longevity, right? You got into the fitness industry, you saw what was happening with people around you, you learned what their motivations might or might not have been to be there, right? And you learned how you use that motivation to then get them to buy a certain product or service, right? So there are a lot of valuable things that you got out of it that put you on the path where you are now.
100%. So yeah, it really brought me to where I'm right now, and I think if I have the lessons from now, it's to be more patient. And if I really wanted to found the co-founder, I would have found it. I just didn't look good enough for it. And if you look into the business case right now, after Corona, all clubs gyms are skyrocketing. So it would have been the perfect passive income stream alive right now if I still had the gym. So afterwards, I think it's a good decision, but it's
well, like you said, right? It gives you the space now to really focus and put all your energy into longevity, right?
Yeah, correct. But I think you can do both if you have. But I wasn't there yet as an entrepreneur to see myself as a guy managing more companies, and now I'm investing a lot in business coaching. And for me, it's seeing myself as the leader and not as the funny guy doing rebellion things. It's I have to be more serious and to be more focused and to go from one goal. And my enthusiasm about new ideas, new things is one of the dangers, one of the risks I have. And at this moment, we only focus on B2C, helping entrepreneurs, business leaders. But there's so many opportunities around us doing B2B business in longevity. But we're saying, no, this year is only B2C. Because I know if I'm doing the same as I did before, I will go on two different paths, which will both become okay, but not the Champions League level we want to achieve.
There are kind of two more things that I wanted to dive into here before we start rounding off today. One, of course, is you've kind of taken us through that journey of how you got to longevity and what you do. Can you tell us a bit more about? Again, Jill and myself are going to go for our first blood work test soon. Can you tell us what will come out of that, and what are some of the things that you look at, and how can people kind of think about what those basics are in order to understand how you can then kind of tweak those and make sure that people can do certain things that will make them, let's say, more healthy? Like, what are those things that you measure?
Well, for sure, we focus on. So we don't do biohacking. So we focus on the majors. And if you look into your blood work, there are a few things you want to see. One of the most important things, of course, cardiovascular disease. So your cholesterol, very simply said. We will look into eight markers, and blood sugar are a very important thing. So two of our pillars are one of metabolic disease, is diabetes, simply said, and the other is cardiovascular disease. If you have a high blood sugar, for example, if you go onto the edge of diabetes, it's a main driver of other diseases like cancer and also cognitive disease like Alzheimer. So if you're on the edge of becoming diabetes patient, then you are, in my opinion, too late. So you don't want to be there. But I'm on this edge. It's quite funny actually, but it's also so sleep is a main driver of those things. So we look into your blood sugar and we check. Okay, is this healthy? Is this optimal? Is this just not healthy, or is it unhealthy? And from there we set the priorities. So if it is okay, but it could go better, we will advise you on this subject. That can go from food, training to supplements. So there are supplements which, like berberine, it's the natural product of metformin, and metformin is the official diabetes medicine. So you can use products you can buy in the store to lower those markers. Then you have one of the most important things is the cardiovascular disease. So most people die from cardiovascular disease. If you want to live healthy, just the first thing is don't die, like Brian Johnson says. And if you don't want to die, don't get sick on those the four big sickness, like Alzheimer, cancer, of course. You have markers like cholesterol. We also have ApoB, LPA. Those two things are the markers we look into. ApoB is quite new. ApoB is healthy between 0.8 and 1.2, but we want it to be like on the 0.8 or 0.7. We don't go for average.
And what does that marker say? What does that measure?
It's it measured it's like a protein in your blood. It's carried by your now it's getting really complex by your LDL and other lipoproteins, which are called the bad cholesterol. But LDL, HDL are not cholesterol, but they are carrying cholesterol. Okay. And then you have LPA, which is a genetically marker. So all my markers are perfect, but my LPA is a little high. So for me, I have a risk on developing cardiovascular disease, even if all my other markers are healthy. So for me, it's complex to focus on because it's genetic. But I didn't drink for 6-7 months last year, and then I were able to lower it to 30%. Now it's back again up because I did a few drinks last year. But so you got cholesterol, blood sugar. If you look into blood pressure, it's really important. If your blood pressure is too high, you're creating damage on your veins. And damage on your veins will over time become more dangerous. So the longer you have this high blood pressure, the longer you create damage, the more damage you have, the more risk you have. So we always want to aim for optimal markers. And that's the thing we look into with you, of course, and with your wife. Another important thing, those are the two main things, is of course we look into, for men, the testosterone. So you want to maintain muscle mass. Muscle mass is the organ of longevity, we say. Muscle mass muscle mass uses sugar from your blood to perform. So if you have more muscle, you will keep your blood sugar lower. This is really important to prevent diabetes, which a lot of people have, or diabetes type 2. And it keeps you on your legs for a long time. So those things are important to maintain. But if you go to the gym and you have low testosterone production, it's difficult for you to maintain muscle. And if you get more older, you will also have more difficulty with that. You can also have a good production, but your body will not be able to take the testosterone.
And use it efficiently.
Yeah, and then you can use with supplements like boron, but you can also use with sleep and other kind of lifestyle interventions. So it's also lifestyle supplements, medication interventions. Those are the biggest things. And then, of course, vitamin D is important. There are a lot of more markers, but to keep it simple. Another thing you have to look into is organ fat. It's called visceral fat. It's a fat you don't see. It's below your muscles, around your organs. And it's really dangerous because it gives inflammations. And inflammations around your organs are not that good. So it's a main driver of a lot of diseases. We create our own targets, which are quite strict. And then we give you a plan to focus on.
And then you measure them every quarter.
We measure them, So if you go into our main program, it's a quarterly test. The blood is twice a year, and if you do it like once a year, it's a once a year test. Those are important things to do. You can do a lot of other things, like we have a longevity fitness age test, which we go into your power, strength, coordination, stability, endurance. And those things like endurance, we measure your VO2 max. It's how your body is able to get oxygen out of the air in your lungs, and from your lungs to your blood, and from your blood to your muscles. The more efficient you work, the more easy it's for your body to operate and to have a high output on low amounts of oxygen. And that's I think the biggest, the most important marker for longevity. So high VO2 max correlates to a long, healthy life. They even say that a low VO2 max has more stronger correlation with all-cause mortality than smoking. So I'm not going to say this really, but it's like you better have a high VO2 max than it would better to have a high VO2 max and smoke than to have a low VO2 max and not smoke. Those things are interesting to look into.
And you also talked about a more, let's say, soft element to some of these things, like that you also measure whether somebody is stressed or whether somebody is, let's say, I mean, you can do a lot of things probably to improve your health, but if you're very stressed or you have a sedentary job and you're not out and about, how do you measure those types of things as well?
Well, stress is a killer for a lot of things. So if you stress is a testosterone killer, but it's also makes your body in the I have to say correctly, but it's you have two systems, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic system. For example, if you don't sleep good, then your body will be more stressed, which means your body will, simply said, store more fat because it's less sensitive for insulin. Insulin will help your body to get the sugar out of your blood. And all those things together you will get into a domino effect. Stress we can measure with questionnaires, and we can measure it on your HRV, which you have the Garmin. So everybody with Whoop or Garmin, that kind of trackers can
recognize that.
If you have to find your baseline HRV, so the higher the better. But you have to compare baseline. So mine is 90, but it's not better than one baseline of 40. It's just genetically decided. But the correlations around the baseline are telling you how stressed you are or are not. And if it is low, it's always below the baseline, then you're stressed. I think without happy life, emotional life, you will not be able to perform. So your body will not create the healthy markers. So that's where it starts. And one of those things, if you're going to long-term health, is if people are alone, a low social life, are increasingly developing cognitive disease.
Yeah, relationships are super important.
You have to get people around you, and you have to invest in that. And don't take 20 friends if you're not if you're an introvert guy, but make sure you have that. So you see a lot of people are alone when they're getting older. I mean, even my mother-in-law, she just got diagnosed with this disease. She's alone for 25 years. And I don't know, some people find people around them and some people are retracting more back into the house. And I think this is one of the most important things, to stay active, have purpose in your life. So I will never quit my job, and preferably I'm able to quit my job, but I will always find something to create. And even if it is a voluntary work but if you have purpose, you can always focus and helping your brain to become active. And I think that's the most underestimated part. It's also the most complex part because we cannot easily measure it and we cannot easily say, do this, then you're happy. So for me, it's the most difficult part, but we do focus on it.
Well, I mean, Jill and I are going to embark on this adventure with you now, right? So I think for the upcoming episodes, I'll definitely be speaking about that and kind of what has come out of that, the results, what you guys have been doing to help us with certain interventions, where we needed extra supplements or where we needed to make lifestyle changes. So I'm going to keep our listeners posted on that. And I think everybody will be hearing a lot more about longevity. Before we start going to the end, two more things. One was around, how are you now starting to kind of build your own personal brand for this company? Because I see you more and more on different podcasts, right? I see different clips of you on LinkedIn where you're talking about the company. And it was one of the reasons why I wanted you here today, is because I think you're doing that very, very well. I think you come across very well in these videos. It makes you very credible. It kind of gives your company a human face. And you really start to get to know you and start to trust you. And I think that helps break down those barriers to actually start with such a product and a personal physician, right? Which is new for people. Is that something you're doing consciously? And how are you doing that?
Well, I think I was one of the first on LinkedIn 15 years ago. So I've been following it for a while, and it starts sort of with, it's easy. It's not easy, but it's marketing I can do myself. So that's how I started with just posting, and then being consistent is the second thing. And then the complexity is more in having the right product and offer and the right target audience. So in the beginning, it was like saying things for everything about everything,
which isn't effective.
Which isn't effective, and it's also if you measure it on DMs, it's it's getting more effective right now. But the biggest part is in people going to our websites and seeing us. I worked with a girl 1 year ago to help me navigate a little bit more, which really helped. And in the end, I decided to continue myself.
What did she do for you? What did she help you with?
Just help. Okay, kind of. It's a more who are you and why are you standing for? And that is something. We're not against anything, but we are for something else.
That's more powerful. Being for something.
And I think in the beginning it was a little bit more too much about against. And I think especially in health, because we are not against healthcare. We are fully for, and we have the best reactive healthcare system in the world. I think that helped. And now we have a content strategy. So it sounds really like amateur, but we just create a new newsletter tomorrow. Oh fuck it, find a subject and we create something. Now we have this one subject a week. Then we develop it into a LinkedIn post, and then we can. So it's a distribution model, which is helping. We are also with 2 founders. They are doctors, so I think if you are a doctor, you have like this born authority on, and we are investing in them to become a human face with medical knowledge, and go beyond sending information, but also sending your feeling. So we are investing in it. We are hiring people to help right now. But for me, it's also a journey.
Yeah.
Because now one of my targets was to be more on video this year. So I also did my first reel a few weeks ago. You saw. And, it was also a scary thing to go live on. And now we're doing it in English, so it's a new thing.
Yeah. You keep pushing the boundaries for yourself.
Yeah, we keep pushing the boundaries.
But I think you're doing it really well, because that video really caught my eye, and I thought you did it really, really well. So it would definitely be something that I would encourage you to continue to do.
Thank you.
Because I think that seeing that and seeing you really gives the person engaging with your content a lot of trust in what you're doing. And I think it's a difficult concept to a certain degree, that people find it scary maybe to dive into their real personal health, right? And to maybe find out that they actually need to make changes. But you give it to people in a very inspiring way, that they can actually take control and this ownership over their life. So I think you should just continue to do that and break it down for people. Like what can they actually do and expect?
Yeah, correct.
You do that very well.
We have a lot of challenges. We can do it. People often ask, "What do I get? What do I buy? What is the product?" Yes. And it's not just a product; it's like an outcome, and that makes it really difficult to. It's one of our challenges to make it simple. And one of the things I really want to go more into is to create if you are a business leader, or do you work on your health KPIs, and reverse that, because you're doing it for your business. Why not for your blood pressure?
Yeah.
And then we make it simple, and then after the blood pressure, then we can tell the complex things. And but it's about ownership and monitoring.
And if you take this challenge on board the coming years with longevity, and you kind of crack that nut, and you continue to build credibility and faith with your customer base, and more people start to engage with your platform and your product and the way you think about health in general. Where will longevity be in a few years? What will it look like? When will it feel like you've kind of accomplished the mission that you set out to accomplish?
So one of the most important thing is we're coming from science, and we're working with doctors. So for me, it's creating a new way people go to the doctor. Is like a long shot. So you have
the moonshot.
Yeah, you have. In the Netherlands, you have this first line of GPs. Why not one line before? Why not working with them earlier with tech? Like we are monitoring your fit trackers. We can ask you to do your blood pressure every week. We can monitor your steps, and then say, "Oh, Diederik, you have been inside for 2 weeks. Get out of your desk and take just by doing using business rules." And based on that, we can see, okay, now it's time to see your physician, like 25 20 minutes. And we see a lot of doctors who are, or physicians, doctors, approaching us. This is really cool. I want to have time with my patients. Usually we have 10 minutes. How can I really be a doctor, playing doctor, like really helping them? And it's like they want to work on your data and health. And that's where I want to go to. So that will mean that we have a platform with providers, doctors. We create the journey for them. We create the plan. They have to implement. And if they do get sick, we will always send them to the GP right now. But then we need. I want them to be the GP itself in the end. That will be a really good next step, because then you are doing preventive health.
Yeah.
And longevity is more than prevention. Longevity is creating health. Prevention is not getting sick. But those two come together, and then I'm happy to if everybody is taking ownership for the health.
Yeah, in a previous podcast, you had a very nice quote, I think, around your own company, where you said, with longevity, we're not looking for sickness, we're looking for better health.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very inspiring way to look at it, right?
Health is not the absence of sickness. And without, of course, I know the complexity of creating a healthcare system, but you have good days and you have bad days, and you always want to have good days, of course. Bad days are okay, but not being sick is not thriving. And I think the world is really challenging, and I want people to be able to thrive so we can take on these challenges. If you look at the world right now, it's not. I think we can help the government as entrepreneurs and as society to take ownership ourselves and to create a better health, because that will help people to lower healthcare costs, but also to be more productive, create more things.
Yeah, be more valuable to society.
It's I also like the game to create a company, but it's both things I'm really interested in.
Yeah. Okay, well, we always end the episode with a quick voice note from somebody in the guests network. Let's say a personal note from somebody you know well. So I'm just going to grab the phone and the headset and just pass it over to you for a quick listen. So please put it on.
Yeah.
Give a thumbs up if you can hear it.
Yeah.
Essie, Moni here. What a time to be alive. Seeing you show up in podcast after podcast makes me extremely proud. So I hope this new endeavor of yours, longevity, is going to be the bomb and is going to be a massive success. Hope that participation of myself and Erbe is going to help you get to that threshold to make this become a massive, maybe even global success. Thinking where we came from being the clowns in school back in elementary school, to continuing that endeavor in middle school, to studying together in Rotterdam, even having our own business together in the beautiful city of Hilversum, and now seeing you succeed, or at least at the beginning of success, and hopefully seeing you succeed much more would make me a very happy person. So keep going, you're a legend, and make it the best.
Yeah, really cool. I know this guy.
One of your friends, right?
Yeah,
discussing the episode, Robert van Monschu.
Yeah, it's really funny. We went to lower school, the primary school, and then also to elementary school, and and it was like the gymnasium, and we both after 2 years went back to the VWO because that was across our home. So we went from cycling 45 minutes to walking 2 minutes, and then I think we were the smallest. Everybody was tall. And we didn't really grow. So but we didn't have the biggest mouth, I think, and started to take our parents' cars and start annoying the. I know it was a funny thing because we knew each other for 6-7 years, but then it came together as two enfants terribles. So no, I really appreciate this message. It's really interesting, the journey, and also you grow up together, and then you go to Rotterdam, but into different groups.
Yeah,
let's say like that. It always have been in contact, different lives, different things, but it's like a base you always fall back onto, and yeah, he's also one of our customers. So
Yeah.
yeah, I know. I explained two groups.
Yeah.
I'll keep now. He's in both. It's interesting. But he also people like to focus on life and being taken care of.
Yeah, he was one of the people that I spoke to do a bit of research on you, of course, and get a bit of more of a personal background story. And it's really nice to see how he's kind of been with you through some of those things, right? And how he's really proud of you where you are now. And maybe it's sometimes good to look back and reflect on that first half of your life, and kind of just be proud of where you are now and where you stand with the company. And he was very very clear about that.
No, I really appreciate it, and it's a good concept to show me to bring me this message. And yeah, we love each other. It's easier said. If your friends from the past will be there for always. That's what I'm aiming for. And I think, if we're grannies, you'll still be the bad guys in the granny house.
Well, Thomas, thanks a lot. I think we're going to round off with that. Like I said, we're going to mention longevity in the coming episodes, right? Because, of course, me and my wife are going to find out what it's all about. I think it's really cool that you're introducing in the Netherlands, especially this notion of a personal physician, and trying to make transparent for everybody what those big kind of influence factors are in your own health. And the way that you talk about it, and the journey that you made to where you are now, I think it's going to turn into a huge success, especially if you see what you're doing now on social media and how you're positioning the company and really talking about it in a very informed way, and trying to break it down, make it simple, and make it interesting for people to get more engaged with their health and take that actual ownership that you were referring to. So we're going to follow you with a lot of interest, and cool. Stay rebellious the way you are, right? Continue to shape that career, that path that you're on. Thank you. Thanks a lot for joining us today.
I really liked it. Really appreciate it, and I also like the backstory. From I don't think a lot about it, but if how you created this including with the message from Robert, and then you say, okay, there is like a line in it. There is like a reason why I'm acting the way I'm acting, and now it's time to go further.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you too.